The period up to and including World War II was a period of unparalleled innovation. Advances in science and industrial capability brought forth new devices and inventions that would shape the face of the world for the next 75 years. One of the most impactful innovations that came from the war was nuclear energy. Deployed against Japan for the first time on August 6, 1945, the atomic bomb dropped over Hiroshima changed the world and helped end the most destructive war in human history.
That was the main subject of conversation as we came back. As we left Hiroshima, now we're flying back home, this sort of stuff. This war is over. We did not see how the Japanese could withstand weapons of this type very, very long into it, that sort of thing. The day before the mission, it should have been August the 5th, why they call us together about 10, 11 o'clock in the morning. And we knew that was going to be this was going to be a very important thing because they had guys with Tommy guns out guarding the briefing hut and everything like that. And so they get us together and they give us the briefing. Who's going to go on the mission, what the course is going to be, what bombing heading is going to be, all that sort of stuff. And then they tell us to go get some sleep. And they'll call us about 10 o'clock for the final briefing and the final breakfast and down to the airplane. How they expected to tell you you're going to go out and drop the first atomic bomb and then go get some sleep is absolutely beyond me. I know Tibbets didn't sleep. I know Farabee didn't sleep. I know I didn't sleep because we were all three in the same poker game. And I don't even remember who won. So then we played poker, and finally about 10 o'clock at night, they came to get us, and they said, the final briefing, and this is where they tell you where all this air-sea rescue ships are going to be. And by the way, we had a very elaborate rescue unit set along, ships all the way along our course. And then we're all down and got our equipment on it, down to the airplane. And we get down to the airplane, and that was our first surprise. Keg lights all lighting up the airplane all over. People interviewing, people taking all kind of pictures and everything like that. And we hadn't expected that. So anyhow, there's a lot of picture taking, a lot of interviewing and everything of that type, and until, maybe like 2:30, something of that type. We were supposed to take off at 2:45. And finally, it was time to get on the airplane and get rid of the cameras and crank up and go. That's all there was to it. It was not only a regular mission, it was an easy mission. Paul, Tom, and I, all three said it was one of the easiest missions we ever flew in our life. Why? Because everything went exactly according to plan. So now after we leave Iwo, we're starting our climb. Before 10,000, we're back into the bomb bay, as I said, changed the plug so that the bomb was now live. Continued our climb, and we climbed up to a little over 30,000 feet. The weather was perfect. I could see the coastline of Japan from, 100 miles away. I could see the city of Hiroshima from a good 75 miles away. So up there, we hit the initial point. We turned onto the 270 heading, actually 263, and went in to bomb the target. We sat on a bomb run for a long time. We were right on target and everything of that type. So we went in, and suddenly you felt the plane surge because 9,800 pound had left all of a sudden. And immediately Paul switched off the autopilot and started to go into the turn to get away from it. 160 degrees to the right, steep as you can make it. And they pushed the throttles all forward, put the nose down to get speed to go away. 43 seconds until the bomb actually reached its altitude at which it exploded. Everybody in the airplane sitting there, if they don't have a watch, they're counting 1,001, 1,002. And I think we had concluded that it was a dud, because it seemed to be 43 seconds. It seemed to be a long 43 seconds, let me put it that way. And suddenly there was a bright flash in the airplane from the bomb exploding. So we knew the bomb exploded, so we kept going away from it and this sort of thing. And very shortly thereafter, the first shock wave hit the airplane. And later I found it was measured at about 2.5 to 3 Gs. That doesn't seem like much to a fighter pilot. But if you're in a B-29 at 30,000 feet, it seems like a lot. And the sound was worse than the shock wave because it sounded like a piece of sheet metal snapping. If you have a piece of sheet metal or something of that type. Somebody on the airplane called out flak. I don't know who it was, and the Karen up in the tail gunner says, "Oh no," he says it wasn't flak. He says it was a shock wave, and here comes another one. And then the second one, a reflection shock wave, hit us, less intensity than the first one. So after we were certain we weren't going to get any more shock waves, we turned to take a look at what had happened. The first thing you saw was a large white cloud up over the target, and this large white cloud was up well above our altitude already. I'd estimate it was up to maybe 45,000 already. And on the base of that cloud, the entire city was covered with thick black smoke, dust, anything that was kicked up by the blast. And it was obvious you were not going to be able to make any visual observation down there. Anybody, in my opinion, anybody who really understands the history of that period has to conclude that it saved lives overall. Now, if you were living in the city of Hiroshima or the city of Nagasaki at that particular time, it is tough for you to accept that you gave your life or your father's life or your parents' life or whatever for the good of your country. But that's what every soldier was doing, out fighting it, whether he was killed by a rifle bullet or an atomic blast. But in essence, there were a lot of people killed there, but they were killed for the overall good, because many, many, many thousands of additional people would have been killed. Most of them would have been Japanese. Number one, and I'm not talking even in the event of invasion. I don't know how many people would have been killed or wounded in the event of if we'd had to invade Japan. But I saw the hospitals they were building in the Marianas there, all over the Marianas, and on Tinian, on Saipan, all over. And if we'd ever filled all those hospitals, it would have been a gory mess, that's all I can say.